We've got the word symmetry at the top of our paper because today we're going to talk a little bit about balance, and we're going to add to the idea of what balance is. So somebody tell me what symmetrical means to you.
Same on both sides.
Same on both sides. Touch your nose if you were thinking same on both sides. Beautiful. So in box number 1, that's what we're going to put. We're going to draw an example of symmetrical, the same on both sides. We call this line symmetry, okay? So this is line symmetry, and we're going to draw a little dotted line right down the middle. And then you can choose something that is symmetrical, the same on both sides, to match on either side of the line. It could be something as simple as a heart. It could be something more complicated like a butterfly. It could be your face. So I'm going to do something super easy. I'm going to put an upside down J shape on one side and an upside down J shape on the other. And it'll be line symmetry. Symmetrical, same on both sides. There are so many things in nature that are symmetrical, the same on both sides. In box number 2, we're going to talk about, I always kind of think of this type of balance as the opposite of line symmetry. It's called a symmetry. That's right. I literally took, my Y got a little wild there. I literally took the word symmetry and put an A in front of a symmetry. What do you think asymmetrical means? I gave you a clue and said that it's kind of the opposite or the anti-line symmetry.
Not symmetrical.
Symmetrical? What? Oh, not symmetrical. Yeah, this A basically means not. It's still a type of balance. It's just not the same on both sides. Balanced, but not equal. For example, if I use my understanding of line symmetry, because that's what we understand both, right? We understand same on both sides. So if we're going to make it balanced but not the same, then we might put one large thing on this side and 2 medium things on this side. I think of it kind of like a seesaw, right? This would be like Dr. A on one side of the seesaw,
And me on the other side.
and 2 third graders on the other side. And do you think that would almost balance out?
No. Yes.
Yeah, pretty close. For asymmetry, we're going to be balanced but not the same. Let's say I was going to put Dr. A on one side. And how many kindergartners would I need?
Like 5. 5.
I'm going to go with
23.
I'm going to go with 4 kindergartners.
100.
Okay? So that would be balanced. Could be balanced. What if it was 1 third grader?
And 2 kindergartners.
2 kindergartners. I like it.
Because they're tiny.
Yeah. So it's about balance. It's about visual balance. So let me ask you a question. Could I give these shapes number values
Yes.
and make an equation with this?
Yes.
Yeah. So I could say 1 Dr. A equals 1 fifth grader plus 1 kindergartner, right?
Balance.
That would be like an equation. So I could say 1 Dr. A equals 1 fifth grader plus 1 kindergartner,
1 kg.
right? And because I have this symbol in here, it's an equation. See, math is everywhere. Isn't that amazing? Okay. So we've got line symmetry and we've got asymmetry. And now we're going to talk about what we're going to work on today is to create something that has radial symmetry.
Have you been watching radio?
Oh, I love that you said radio. Why did you say radio?
Because it sounds like it.
Because it sounds like it. Now, do you know how radio works?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a radio tower. Here's the little guy in the tower. And back in the old days, now we do this digitally. We use the internet and things like that. But the radio tower is really tall. And it sends out radio signals. If you use an antenna for your TV instead of a streaming device, it would send the radio signals out in which direction?
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. All the directions, right?
Wait, so symmetry everywhere.
Oh, symmetry everywhere. Yeah.
I
So
just love that.
I like to think about it like a compass rose. Do you know what a compass rose is?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, compass rose is radial. It has north and south at the bottom, and east on the right side, and west on the left side, right? And if we think about there being an invisible line that connects them, right? Radial designs radiate from the center. They come out from the center. So if I were to put a shape, and since this already has the nice points of a diamond, I'm going to go ahead and add a diamond. Whatever else I add to this design is gonna go north, south, east, and west, or northwest, southwest, southeast, and northeast. Does that make sense? So if I decide to put an oval here, then I have to put an oval here, and an oval here, and an oval here. Can you think of anything from nature that grows like this? What do you think?
Flowers.
Flowers, yeah, flowers are like that. So I can go ahead, if I'm gonna add a diamond shape here, I can add a diamond shape here. In the winter time, we see a lot of things with radial symmetry. Can you think of something that comes in the winter that is symmetrical from the center out?
Snowflakes.
Snowflakes, yeah, absolutely. So radial symmetry grows out equally in all directions. So if I put 2 circles in this space, I've got to put 2 circles here, 2 circles here, 2 circles here, and 2 circles here. And I can keep going until I literally run out of space. What we're going to do is right in the middle, very lightly, you're going to write your teacher's letter, which is going to be, for today, C3. And then right next to it, you're going to write your name. My name is Dr. A. Please do not write Dr. A on your paper. Okay? We're going to turn that paper over. We're going to put our pencil back in the supply tub. And we're going to slide our idea books over to the idea book rectangle. So I'm also going to give you another tool before we start painting our radial design. And that is this color mixing guide. It has the color wheel on it, and we are going to, our challenge today, besides creating a radial design, is to paint without any water. That means that there's only going to be one way that you can clean your paintbrush today, and I'm going to show you how to do that. The idea is to teach you how to control the amount of paint on your brush, okay? So I have a paint palette all set up for you. And luckily, if you notice, with yellow at the top, it actually starts with yellow and it goes around the color wheel. So we've got yellow, orange, pink, magenta, which is magenta and white actually, regular magenta. So these are tinted with white. So white paint has been added. And then red, or excuse me, magenta and red. So these two colors and these two colors are the same. These two have white, so they're tints. We have blue, light blue, which is a tint of blue. Turquoise, which is also has a little white in it to show up a little better. Purple, light green, which is yellow green, which these should be switched, and regular green, okay? So there's a little bit of white in case you need to lighten something up a little bit. Just remember that once you have white in your brush, you can't get it out, okay? All right, so I recommend when you start painting that you start with lighter colors and work to the darker colors, because what's gonna happen is if you mix across the color wheel, so for example, if you mix yellow and purple together, you get brown. If you mix blue and orange together, you get brown. If you mix reds and greens together, you get brown, because you're mixing all three of the primary colors together and you end up with brown, okay? All right, so I'm gonna start in the middle of my paper as close as I can think of. I'm gonna go ahead and start with a lighter color. I'm gonna get some yellow on my brush. Notice that it's just on the tip of my brush. I'm holding my paintbrush on the squishy handle, and I'm gonna make a shape. Now, I wanna make a bigger shape than that. I kinda like the design I made in my book, so I'm gonna actually paint. I'm gonna draw with my paintbrush. I'm gonna draw a diamond shape. You can make any shape. You can start with any shape you like in the middle. Okay. Now, while I have yellow on my brush, I might decide that I want to have some yellow dots out here. Notice that once I have that first shape down, I have to put a shape north, south, east, and west, or northeast, southeast, southwest, or northwest, okay? Then I think I'm gonna add one more yellow shape. I'm gonna add a diamond way out here in the corner of my paper. Now, you're probably thinking, gee, Dr. A, why would you do that when you could just draw the shapes that will touch each other? And the reason is because if I put another color on my brush right now, will the yellow be as yellow as it is right now? No, it sure won't. So I'm going to put in some things that I think I want to be yellow and see what happens in between, okay? Now, to clean my brush, I'm going to come over here on my paint mat, and I'm going to drag and lift my brush to get some of that yellow out of my brush. Notice that I am not pushing my brush. I am dragging and lifting and dragging and lifting. The last thing we want is tangled hair. There's no water today to smooth it out. Okay, I might use yellow. I don't know that I want any orange in my picture, so I'm going to go straight to pink. And I think I'm going to, God bless you, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to outline this diamond shape with pink. And you'll notice that there's a little bit more paint on my brush this time. But it's still only halfway to the binder, right? It's only halfway. The whole hair is not covered in paint. That's because this is a paintbrush. It is not a spoon. This is paint. It is not delicious pudding. The paint you are looking for is at the top. It's not on the bottom of the cup, okay? Don't forget, you're either going to start with yellow and go orange to red. start with yellow and go through the warm colors, or you're going to start with yellow and go backwards through the cool colors. The only problem with going through the cool colors is you hit these really dark blues and purples before you get to the oranges and reds, but I think that will be okay. You might not have been able to fill in all of your positive spaces. That means the shapes you were adding equal distance from the center, and the spaces in between those shapes. So we call the shapes positive spaces because there's something there. We added something, right? The plus sign means addition. So we added shapes. But then we have this space out here that is paper color, and we call that negative space. And that's not because the space is bad. It's just that nothing's there yet. We haven't added anything to it yet. We are going to be using paint sticks. Yes, because this is a painting, we're going to be using paint sticks to finish it. When it dries, it doesn't rub off. So let me show you. So these operate kind of like a chapstick. So you can just roll them up. You can make shapes. You can add to your existing shapes. If I do one side though, I have to do all of the sides. There's east and south. Here's west and north. Okay. I can also use these paint sticks to add shapes on top. Now, the camera's not showing the pink on blue very well. But if I do 4 on 1 in one direction, I have to make 4 dots in all the directions. And now that all of my negative space is filled in, I can add some other things. So since my pink dots didn't turn out very dark, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna outline them in white. And that will make them pop a little bit more. Once you have the negative spaces filled in, you can really have some fun adding to your design. So I'm starting to make smaller and smaller shapes with the paint sticks, which is really fun. And I'm just adding to it. What I'm not doing is covering over places where I painted before. Does that make sense?